guys hear me okay? Yeah. Great. Well, hey everybody, my name is David Shadburn. Welcome to Alex's Restaurant. I'm going to be telling you a story tonight about my dear friend Alex. It's a totally true story, except that Alex isn't real, and this will be made up on the spot tonight. All I need to get started, inspire this story, is give me a sample of a location, some sort of place.
Detroit.
Detroit. Thank you very much. You can get anything you want at Alex's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alex's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alex's Restaurant. So, my friend Alex has this habit of trying to scalp tickets for things. Alex is the kind of guy who's like always looking for a side hustle. You know, I've known Alex a long time. We go really far back, and I remember back at the junior prom, Alex was trying to sell extra tickets to junior prom from other kids from other schools. And, you know, I was pretty proud of that because I helped plan the junior prom when I was in student government, and so I felt like that was sort of he was sort of complimenting me in that way, and he was sort of teasing me in the way that he was stealing funds from the student activities account that, you know, I was trying to raise money for by the fact of having the junior prom in the first place. And so anyway, Alex was always trying to make money on something, and, you know, despite these sort of antics, like I said, we're old friends. So Alex is the kind of guy who, you know, he wanted to find an adventure in the things he was doing too, and I remember this one time when we were in college together, and Alex had this idea that we were going to try to break into a Chance the Rapper concert. And you might be thinking, break into a Chance the Rapper concert? That's not usually the terms that you use to define what it means to break into to get into a concert. When you're trying to get into a concert, it's usually sneak into a concert is the terminology you might be more familiar with. And when I say break in, I mean he wanted to break down the door to get inside to the Capital One Arena. He had a plan, you see. Alex had this idea that we were going to bring a battering ram downtown to Washington, D.C. And by the way, we were taking the Metro to this event, so his plan was to take a battering ram onto the Washington Metropolitan Area Transportation Authority's Metro Rail system and try to bust into Capital One Arena. But friends, that obviously didn't work. And you'd be surprised that, you know, turns out you actually can bring a battering ram onto the Washington Metropolitan Area Transportation Authority's Metro Rail system, because they don't really care what you're carrying on the system. But if you do try to approach the doors of the Capital One Arena with a battering ram, they get a little bit upset with you. So Alex and I spent the night in Capital One jail. And now, not Capital One Bank jail, that's a totally different thing. This is Capital One Arena jail. You know, sort of like the Philadelphia Eagles have a jail for all the rowdy fans at the stadium there. This is for Capital One. And, you know, Washington, D.C. sports fans aren't known to be the most rowdy people, so it's not really like the most inhabited jail. But we're sitting in the jail at Capital One Arena, and we're thinking, you know, how could we get here? And I'm thinking, especially Alex, come on, we're supposed to be friends here. This was your cockamamie scheme to try to bust into a Chance the Rapper concert at Capital One Arena here, downtown Washington, D.C. I'm just a goody two-shoes kid who likes to be in student government. How did I end up in Capital One jail? Capital One Arena jail. And Alex says, listen, you know, I wasn't really sure when was going to be the right time to bring this up, but I actually have a big idea. You see, I've been thinking about how we can go bigger with this whole thing. And I'm thinking, bigger with what whole thing? Bigger with being in jail inside a stadium? You want to be inside a jail for, like, a government of some sort? That's not really my scene, you know. I'm trying to get references for my internships and whatnot. You know, we're in college again at the time of this story. And Alex says, no, listen here, I've got an idea about how we can make money, okay? And now I know what you're thinking. I've had ideas like this before. I know what you're thinking too. It's resulted in money coming out of your pocket before, or at least your coffers for your functions of sorts. But this time it's not actually going to involve you having money stolen from. And it's not really going to involve you stealing money per se. But it is going to involve you making money that might belong to other people. And so I said, Alex, look, I really don't want to know about this, but we are the only people in Capital One jail. And like I said, not particularly rowdy bunch. And this being not even a sports game, it was a concert that night for Chance the Rapper. There wasn't anybody else there, so and the guards were off seeing the concert. And you might be thinking, how do you get a job as a guard at the Capital One Arena jail? Not the bank jail, it's a different jail. And I still don't know the answer to that, and that wasn't his scheme, so unfortunately I didn't learn that night. So I can't report that out to you now. But he had this idea. He said, listen, I got a friend who's operating out of the Midwest. He has this whole idea about how we can make money off of sporting events at different regional Midwest sporting centers. College, professional, hockey, basketball, baseball. I said baseball. You know I love baseball. And friends, Alex did know I love baseball because one time for my 17th birthday, Alex surprised me with tickets to see the Washington Nationals, and he knew I was a really big Nationals fan. And I had this look at it. I was taking a look at the tickets, and they didn't really look like other tickets you get for the Nationals, you know. So usually you kind of know what the ticket's going to look like, and this was back in the day where they actually gave you paper tickets, so you did have a sense of what the tickets were going to look like. You know, it's a little unsatisfying to get a picture of a moving QR code for a present now that they have for going into baseball stadiums and whatnot. And this was sort of just a lazy printout, so of course we got to the stadium and I found out the ticket was not real. You ever have to suffer the indignity of walking into a baseball stadium thinking you can scan your ticket and it just doesn't work? You find out that you bought a fake ticket. Or you find out you didn't buy the fake ticket, your so-called best friend gave it to you. And definitely knew it was a fake ticket at the time that he gave it to me. So, friends, when he started talking about baseball, yes, I lit up, but I did have this previous experience that I was going in with that made me a little upset. Sort of reminded about it. You don't like to be upset when you're sitting in jail, because you're already upset because you're sitting in jail. Especially when it's like Capital One Arena jail, not even the bank jail. Banks like kind of are already jails on their own, right? They have jails for money. Money can't get out, not on its own anyway. So friends, he has this idea. He says, listen, I got this Midwest sort of sports syndicate here. Syndicate, operative word. Syndicate's a crime word. Nobody ever uses the word syndicate when it's a legal concept. But he did use the word syndicate, and we were in jail, so I suppose that was the appropriate time. Not real jail, of course, but you've heard that before. So friends, he had this idea. He said, listen, I know of a way that we can sell a lot of tickets to a lot of games. We're just going to have to be on the ground, so we are going to have to take some time off of school. But listen, it's going to be worth it, okay? It's going to pay off your loans. It's going to help finance your summer internships where you're trying to pay for apartments even though the internship's not paying you enough money to live in that apartment. It's going to help you in all that, okay? So you got to come to Michigan with me, okay? Because we're going to have this whole thing. We're going to make money. So friends, you ever been presented with a really bad idea? But maybe you're like, I don't know, I like this guy. I don't have any reason to like this guy, but it's just sort of the situation. So you say yes. That ever happened to you? Well, it happened to me that night. So friends, a couple weeks later, we've been bailed out of Capital One Arena jail, not bank jail. And yes, we had to be bailed out of jail. It was not somebody had to come and give money. It was Capital One named after all. So friends, we're bailed out of jail, and a few weeks later, I'm on a plane to Detroit, Michigan. I've never been to Detroit, Michigan before this. You land in Detroit, and a little bit sad. It's gray, dark, all the time, not very sunny this time of the year. Because friends, it was opening day baseball in Michigan. Comerica Park for the Detroit Tigers. And Alex, he walks up to me, he hands me a stack of papers. And I had seen this type of paper before. Like like I said, at my 17th birthday, I had seen this very paper, and so I knew it was not real tickets to Detroit Tigers opening day against the St. Louis Cardinals. And he said, listen, just walk around the park, wear this hat with a tiger on it, not the official Detroit Tigers logo, it's just a different tiger. It's a nondescript tiger, not one you've seen before in other logos, just a tiger. Just wear this hat, sell people the tickets, man. It's gonna pay for your internship opportunities, okay? This is big for you. So I said, listen, Alex, I don't really know if I want to go down this path again. I've already got a criminal record now, and criminal to a bank, or criminal to a sports arena, and here we are standing outside another sports arena, and I'm afraid of history repeating. He said, don't worry, David. I didn't bring a battering ram. And we didn't take public transit here because the city is run by GM and the Ford Motor Company. And we don't have that here. So I said, okay, I guess that means this situation is definitely not the same thing. And that was good enough for me. And friends, I started walking around outside Comerica Park in Detroit, Michigan, trying to sell what I knew were fake tickets. So I actually get through a good pile of them, and I'm staying far enough away that I don't see any disappointed people trying to walk into the stadium. I also was careful not to sell to any families with children. I thought that was a little too cruel. Kids, I love baseball. I don't want that kid to have this experience with baseball so earlier in their life. Well, they're a Detroit Tigers fan. They're going to have enough depressing experience about baseball. As a Nats fan, I know something about this. So I'm walking around the park, I'm selling some tickets, and this guy comes up and he says, I'll take 2. And I say, sure, 2 what? As you know, you want to be a little careful in case people are out there watching you, selling these fake tickets. Fake air quotes. And he says, I'll take 2, you know what I got here, you got here, just sell me the 2 tickets. And I say, listen, game time's starting, and I got all this pile of tickets that, they're not gonna be worth much anymore if I don't sell them soon. Of course, they weren't worth anything, because they weren't real tickets to the game. So I sell this guy the tickets, I say, yeah, here you go. I take it on Venmo, early days of Venmo. And this guy says, freeze! You're under arrest. So I find myself in Comerica Park Jail. Alex, nowhere to be seen. I'm sitting in there, and because this was actually a sports event, and Detroit has some real sports fans, there were actually other people in there. This was before the game actually started. So I was thinking, how'd these sports fans end up in the jail before the game started? I mean, how could they have been so rowdy before the game even started to end up in Comerica Park Jail? And isn't Comerica some sort of insurance company? And maybe they would have a financial interest in this jail, sort of like Capital One did? And I'm just out all these questions swirling for me, and this guy with the big Detroit Tigers fuzzy hat on. This was the Detroit Tigers branded fuzzy hat, not like the fake tiger that I had on my head that was just a nondescript tiger. And this guy comes up to me and he says, what the hell are you doing here? I say, rooting for my favorite team. And they say, well, where'd you get that hat? I said, one of those hat scalpers, one of those mean people who are selling you fake merchandise outside the park. One of those guys sold me this fake hat. Isn't that ridiculous? Who would sell fake merchandise outside of a sporting event? And they all go, yeah, that would be terrible. Who would do such a thing? And we start bonding in the jail there at Comerica Park, and we're having a good time together, and they got a radio on so we can sort of hear what's going on in the game. And, about the 8th inning or so, Alex comes around and bails me out of Comerica Park Jail, and I say, Alex, this wasn't a really friendly thing for you to do, man. You're not really taking care of me and our friendship. And he says, man, I'm just trying to help you out, pay for your internships and whatnot. So if you ever get an offer that's too good to be true, from a friend so-called, just sing him a bar of this song. You can get anything you want at Alex's restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alex's restaurant. Said walk right in, it's around the back. just a half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alex's restaurant. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. Alex's restaurant.